Okay. How's it going, everybody? We have got Dr. Christopher Smith on the line, who is back with us. Gave us a special little visit last night, but he's back again this morning, and kind of looks like you're still at the hospital, Chris.
Yeah, so I've been here. I put my foot on the pedal the minute my shift started at 6 p.m. last night, and whenever I had a chance overnight, when I wasn't running around the Emerge in the hospital, I came back and put as many K in as I could overnight. So managed to get about 105 K in overnight during my shift, and now I kind of handed the pager over at 8, and I'm now gonna go as long as I can.
Amazing.
I think you know who are overnight, you kind of you know it, right? Like the hardest time, and I do overnights all the time, is that 3 to 4 a.m. If you can get through that 3 to 5, you know, you're kind of failing. You want to move in during the daytime, you know?
There is a huge, we've been talking about it this morning, but big morale boost with the sun coming through the windows just after 6. Get a coffee going, and you know what? It's a new day.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got the hardest part's done now, guys. 100%.
I keep telling folks we're on the downhill. We just got to coast it in.
So yeah, it's been great, and I'm just so proud of the community. This is such a great initiative. I can't even speak to how, you know, I know you guys reset your goal like 5 times because everybody just kept donating. It's just amazing.
I think folks want to hear from you, because the work that you're doing, and the men and women of Michael Garron Hospital, our frontline healthcare workers, you know, all we have to do is stay home, but you guys are on the front lines every day to keep us safe, and I think folks are curious what that's been like for you over the past 5-6 weeks. Michael Garron was, of course, the first hospital in Toronto to be a COVID assessment center. You've been doing it from day one, ever since this landed here in Toronto, and what has that been like?
No, I think just like everybody, I think the big thing has been the unknown. You know, I remember, you know, even mid to end of January. I mean, as you probably met our amazing infectious disease team, including Dr. Powis. Second, some of those reports coming out of China, he was all over this, and so we were kind of well ahead of it, and so, you know, but it was really unpredictable, and the hardest part has been about the preparations. I mean, the amount of preparation has gone into being prepared for those scenarios that we hope never happen. And so far, you know, with all the hard work everyone in the community is doing by keeping home, and that is hard to do. You know, you're teaching your kids at home. You know, my neighbor, between her 3 kids, says she's got like 11 teachers on Google Classroom, all doing it different ways, and they're trying to work at home, and so it's hard too, right? And because of that, you know, some of those scenarios that we planned for, and I can't just describe how many Zoom meetings that we've had for the last 2 months to be prepared to double or more, almost triple our ICU capacity, and over double our, you know, add 150 extra beds to our acute care capacity, and all this preparation. And then, you know, add to all that, all the external stress of, you know, the unknown of who's going to get sick, and as healthcare workers going home to our families, and you know, the ongoing difficulties with personal protective equipment shortages, and adds a lot of unknowns and a lot of stress.
So I wanted to talk to you about that, because, you know, that's in part what the Emergency Response Fund is really raising money for, is to help provide the supports to deal with that, whether that's travel or hotels for folks to quarantine, meals for morale, all the unexpected costs associated with a global pandemic that's hitting our community so hard. But on a personal level, as a human, you know, I know there's inherent risks with the job. You go into the medical field, you're a doctor, you're obviously around people who are not well. But something like this, I would be nervous, I'd be scared showing up to work, and yet you all accept that risk, and you choose to go in, and you show up and you put in the hours. What is that like personally, knowing that you're walking into that situation every day?
I mean, part of it is you know, again, having great leadership, and again, I think we've been ahead of it. so we could understand as much as we could understand what we're dealing with and what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of. You know, there's of course risk, but you know, as you go through and you start to learn more about how you protect yourself, how the whole system is organizing to keep workers as safe as possible, you start to not worry about that as much. And you know, it's so normal now to put, you know, masks and shields on and be meticulous about the way you take your gloves and goggles off. Over time it becomes normal, and you can start going back to what you were doing a month and a half ago before you thought about COVID and just kind of worrying about giving the patient the best care. There was a period in there though where, you know, a lot of people, their own safety was front of mind, and it was hard to kind of put that out of the way. But I think now that we're learning more, we're starting to be able to go kind of getting to a rhythm of how we do this. And that's kind of, you know, again, that's been by great leadership. We didn't run out of PPE, you know, with all the help of the PPE drive and everybody in the community making the masks, you know, sewing masks around the clock so that we can try our best to not run out of PPE and have what we need. And thank goodness with the innovative solutions like, you know, using Tilly's and using these reusable face shields, we've been able to protect ourselves and be confident that we're not going to run out of supplies. Which kind of, you can take it out of the front of your mind, you can put it in the back of your mind, it's never gone.
Right.
But you can focus on the job at hand that way. And I think that's been a great job by the hospital and the team to try to do that as much as possible, you know, within reason. I mean, everybody was worried in the beginning, and it was hard not to be a bit anxious.
Right. So
slowly feeding.
So Sarah Downey last night, President and CEO of the hospital, was talking to us about how, you know, we were kind of finding our feet at first when this first arrived, but the team has embraced the opportunity to learn, and you were just speaking about that as well, learning and growing through this epidemic and perhaps establishing different practices. And there's a real educational and learning opportunity here for us to lead on things like this. Can you talk about some of the way the job has changed, the way you consider situations, the way you mitigate risks, some of the learning that's taken place?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, you know, we have the quote-unquote benefit of having been one of the centers of SARS.
Right.
And, you know, this hospital and a lot of the hospitals in Toronto did a lot of learning at that time. And as a result, actually, you know, Toronto and Ontario, but Toronto has some of the leading infectious control doctors in the country, the world. You know, if you watch some of the documentary about SARS on Netflix, you would have seen Alison McGeer and some of these people that are Toronto-based people that really are some of the leaders in the world for this stuff. And so, you know, we have a lot of expertise. And so, you know, we've been lucky enough to be able to tap into all that. And, you know, one of the things has been the modeling too. We've had access to some of the world's best modelers to figure out and have the best numbers available to figure out what kind of capacity we need to build to, you know, how that's changing over time. And that, we just had another meeting 2 days ago about how those numbers are changing. And it's an ongoing evolution based on the data that's coming out to figure out what to do next, right? Because what we did up front, which, you know, everybody had to do, was figure out how we were going to prepare for the worst. And so far that hasn't happened. We're hopeful that we're going to continue on that trend. But now we still have to adapt. Now we have to adapt to the idea that this is going to be kind of the way we do business for 6 months, 8 months, 18 months. And how does the hospital adapt into that now? And so we're already doing that kind of learning too, trying to model it out, figure out what are the best ways to now deliver the care that all the other non-COVID patients need. That unfortunately is kind of one of the silent parts of the epidemic, is people with chronic diseases, other people who, you know, they don't have COVID, so they don't go on the front page, but they don't get the care they need, and we have to now start, to some degree, start thinking about how to care for those patients again. And we've really ramped up our virtual care and all these other things that, you know, to try to do that. But now we're going to have to lean on some of that and those learnings we've had with the virtual care and some of those types of technologies to now go back to doing the things we used to do for all those other patients that weren't COVID. And that has been the next set of learnings that we're going to have to do and move into. And that's, you know, lucky we have the people we do in Dr. Powis and Dr. Creedy, but other experts in Toronto at Sunnybrook and Mount Sinai, they're all collaborating to kind of help us with this. And Ontario is in a good place that way, I think. So hopefully, the next 1 to 2 months, we can see how that's going to roll out, and we can use these learnings to do it safely and move into taking care of all those patients again.
Well, you know what? I think that the predictions and the numbers and the forecasting, you know, we will hopefully look back at this and say that, you know, those numbers, those worst case scenarios were wrong, but they were only wrong because we took the steps as a community, as a city, as a country to make sure that we didn't get there.
100%, and that's why I say, you know, we're saying we're doing the hard work, and yeah, there's people doing the hard work here, but it is not easy to be at home and to put your lives on hold and your livelihoods on hold, and that is the only reason that we didn't hit that first curve that was going up pretty quickly in the beginning. You know, that's the only reason we didn't do that. That had nothing to do with us, and so, you know, now we have to use this and help everybody how to do the next phase of this safely as well, and hopefully we can do that, because I think everybody to some degree is still wondering what that's going to look like, and we don't have all the answers yet.
There's still a lot of unknowns, isn't there?
Unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I think we have had such a huge uptake on the Crush COVID ride and initiative, and, you know, nearly 400 cyclists participating from around the world, but also 2,000 donations from people across Toronto, across Canada, and I think that's because everybody has a connection to a community hospital, and, you know, there's none better than Michael Guerin. There's a personal connection. You've been there, maybe you had kids there, take care of a loved one, and we understand that it's so important to step up and help out the best we can and make a contribution if we're able to right now. And I just want you to know how much the work that everyone that there is doing, the men and women, the frontline healthcare workers, means to us. And you can certainly see that with the outpouring of support. We're so grateful for everything you folks are doing.
Well, I mean, we really appreciate it. And you know what? A lot of us, it's our community hospital too, right? Like, you know, I live on the beach. Two of my kids were born there. You know, my parents recently downsized and moved to a condo on the beach. My mom's sewing masks for the foundation. You know, my brother moved to the Upper Beach. My sister-in-law just moved to the Upper Beach. You know, and so it's our community hospital too. And I think that's true for a lot of my colleagues, that we live in the area as well. And so it adds that extra bit to how much it means to us to make this place the best place it could be for our community.
Well, we are so grateful, and you're seeing some shout-outs on the group chat and on the Facebook page. And I think the fact that everyone's here and on board and fundraising and riding, you know, it speaks to how much that means. So I will let you go and get back to what you need to be doing, but I really appreciate you being here, riding with us, and of course showing up every day at Michael Guerin to keep us safe. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you everybody for all their hard work on the bike and in your homes. You're doing us all a great favor in both ways. So thank you very much to the whole community.
Okay, be well, and we'll speak to you soon. That's amazing. Chris joined us last night, very late, and came on, and we had a little bit more time to speak with him this morning. And honestly, his story